In previous classes, we were discussed about the gear. What is a gear? Gear is a toothed wheel with a special profile, and the center distance between the corresponding point of successive teeth measured along the pitch circle is called circular pitch. So that is PC equal to pi d by t. And the diametral pitch is the ratio of number of teeth to diameter. So that is PD equal to T by D. In the module, it is the ratio of diameter to the number of teeth. So for correct mesh of toe gates, we need to have same circular pitch and the module. So module and circular pitch for the both the gates must and should be same for correct mesh. So when there is a correct mesh only, the power will be transmitted from one shaft to another shaft without any deviation. So in generally, to transmit power from one shaft to another shaft, we must and should use more than two gears. So when the power transmission takes place with more than two gears, then it is called as gear train. So in general, gear train will be having two types. One is ordinary gear train and epicyclic gear train. In ordinary gear train, we have in ordinary gear train, the axis of the gears must and should be constant. So in the ordinary gear train, gear will be rotate along the fixed axis, whereas in the epicyclic gear train, the gear revolves around the one of the gear is revolve around the fixed axis gear. So that is epicyclic gear train. In ordinary gear train, we have seen simple gear train, compound gear train, and reverted gear train. So in compound gear train, the one type of is the reverted gear train. So the difference is in simple gear train, what happens? Each shaft consists of only one gear, whereas in the compound gear train, uh, one compound shaft consists of two gears, two or more gears. So in this, the power transmission will take place. Whereas in the reverted gear train, it is also a compound gear train, but what happens is the driving shaft axis and driven shaft axis are collinear. So then it is called as reverted gear train. So we have seen different examples of reverted gear train. So main examples are back gear of lathe, motor car gearbox, and reverted gear train is also used in clocks, watches. So that is the reverted gear train. We now today's class will see some problems on the motor car gearbox and what is an epicyclic gear train, spur gear wheel design, and problems on spur gear wheel design. So first we'll see one example problem related to sliding gearbox of motor car. So a three-speed sliding gearbox of a motor car is required to give speed ratio of 4 is to 1, 2.5 is to 1 and 1.5 is to 1 for the first, second and third gear respectively. The diametral pitch of all gears is 0.3 and the center distance between the mating gears is 70 mm. Find the suitable number of teeth for various gears. If the number of teeth on pinion is 14. So here it is a 3-speed sliding gearbox. So in this we have first gear, second gear, third gear and top gear is also there. Top gear is nothing but 1 is to 1. There is no reduction of speed. So when the clutch is in contact with the driving shaft, then the power transmission will takes place directly 1 is to 1 without any reduction, without any gear train. So to get the speed reductions, to get the different speeds, we use the sliding gearbox. The name itself is saying sliding gearbox means the gears will slide along over the spline shaft. So here we will see the motor car gearbox. So first number of teeth on pinion is given, that is pinion is the smallest gear on in the wheel, the gear train. So that is TA equal to 14. Diametral pitch PD is 0.3 and center distance is 70 mm. The arrangement of gears for sliding gearbox is shown in figure. So this is the arrangement of sliding mesh gearbox. So in this we have driver shaft and driven shaft. So the power is transmitted from driver shaft to driven shaft with an intermediate or compound shaft, that is lay shaft. So if there is no reduction in speed, the directly driver shaft will connect it to driven shaft with the using clutch. So direct attachment will be there. Then the power is transmitted 1:1 ratio. So now here power is transmitted in to get the reduction of speeds we have lay shaft. So here first driver gear A is fixed to driver shaft, that is pinion is fixed to driver shaft. So the power is transmitted to driver shaft to lay shaft by using gear B, which is always in contact with A. So the gear B is always in contact with the B. The B is on the lay shaft. It is fixed on the lay shaft. So in this way, lay shaft is consisting of other three gears to get three different speeds. So D, F and H are the fixed gears on the lay shaft and which are free to rotate on the lay shaft, which will be rotated freely. So now we have a main shaft, that is driven shaft. So here driven shaft is a spline shaft. Spline shaft, already we know what is the spline shaft. So spline shaft is having a keyways around the shaft. Then it is called spline shaft. So spline shaft is consisting of three gears, that is C, G and H. Sorry, C, E and G, which are which will slide over the driven shaft, and whenever the required speed is wanted, then the particular gear will contact with the lay shaft gear to get the different change of speeds. So here we have seen the first gear, second gear and third gear. So in the first gear we have more reduction of speed will be there, and in the second gear we'll get the medium speed, and third gear will get the maximum speed. So to get the minimum speed, the driven gear must and should be larger diameter. So here what happens is, when the power is transmitted from A to B, for the first gear, the gear G will be in contact with H. So that power is transmitted from H to G. So where power is transmitted from A to B, the lay shaft will rotate. So from that, H will also rotate. So those, to get the first gear what happens is, the G slides over the spline shaft and will contact with the H to get the first gear. To get the second gear speed, it is also same. So here E and G are the to fix it together. In this case, what happens is, if you want a second gear, it will disengage to the ENG and E will come in contact with F, so that you will get the medium speed. To get the third gear, what happens is C will come in contact with D and E and F will be disengaged and C will come in contact with the D. Then the power is transmitted from E to B and D to C. So since the pitch of the gears is same, and for the reverted gear strings, the center distance between the two gears is same. The center distance. For the correct measure of two gates, what happens? The module and pitch of the gates must and should be same. For the reverted gate trends, the center distance between each pair must and should be same. Means for the A and B is always in contact, so the center distance between the A and B is equal to C and D, E and F, and G and H. Then the center distance is nothing but dA plus dB by 2 and dC plus dD by 2. dE plus dF by 2 equal to dG plus dH by 2. So here D can be written as M into T. So module for each gear is same. Then TA plus TB equal to TC plus TD equal to TE plus TF equal to TG plus TH. So now center distance is given in the problem. So center distance equal to TA plus TB by 2 into M. So we know M is reciprocal of diametral pitch. In the problem, the value of diametral pitch is given. C equal to TA plus TB by 2 into 1 by PD. TA plus TB equal to 2 into center distance is 70 into PD is 0.3. TA plus TB equal to 2 into C into TD. So then 2 into 70 into 0.3, that is 42, will be the TA plus TB. And for the first gear, in the first gear what happens, as we know, to get the first gear, the power is transmitted from A to B, so which is on the laced shaft. And to get the first gear, the more speed reduction, the gear G will come in contact with gear H. So in the first pair, A will be the driver. In A and B, A will be the driver. In second pair, G and H will be the driver. G is driven speed. So in driven speed by driver speed, Ng by Na equal to product of number of teeth on drivers by product of number of teeth on driven. So here drivers are gear A and gear H. So from that, TA into TH by TB into TG equal to, already train value for the first gear is given, that is 1 by 4. So that is equal to 1 by 2 into 1 by 2. So we can take TA by TB equal to 1 by 2 and TH by TG equal to 1 by 2. So TA by TB equal to 1 by 2, TB equal to 2 into TA, that is 2 into 14, that is 28. TA plus TB equal to 2, TH plus TG equal to 42. So already in the problem we have seen TA plus TB equal to 42. So TA plus TB equal to TH plus TG because both having the same center distance. So then TA plus TB equal to TH plus TG equal to 42 because 12 plus TA plus TB equal to 42. So already TH by TG equal to 1 by 2, TG equal to 2 into TH. So from 1 and 2 equations, when you substitute TG value in TH plus TG equal to 42, 3 TH equal to 42, then TH is equal to 14. So here TA equal to 14 and TH is also 14. TB is 28 and TG is also 28. For the first gear, from the first gear we got the values of TH and TG value, TA and TB value. So for the second gear, train value NE by NA equal to. So in second gear, what happens? To get the second gear, the first gear will be disengaged. Means so G and H will disengage, and E will come in contact with F. So E will come in contact with F to get the second gear. So in this, A transmits the power to B and F transmits the power to E because F is on the lay shaft. F gear is on the lay shaft. So NE will be the driven speed and NA will be the driver speed. So train value for the second gear is NE by NA equal to product of number of teeth on drivers by product of number of teeth on driven. So that is equal to TA into TF by TB into TE, that is equal to 1 by 2.5. So already we know TA by TB is equal to 1 by 2. When you substitute in this, 1 by 2 into TF by TE equal to 1 by 2.5. So now TF by TE is equal to 1 by 1.25 and TE equal to 1.25 TF. And already we know TA plus TB equal to TE plus TF equal to 42. So by using both equations, third and fourth, we got TF is 18.66 means 19 and TG is 23. So next one is third gear. What happens is, so the in the second case, what happened? E will come in contact with F. So this will disengage and C will come in contact with the D. So C slides over the spline shaft and come in contact with the D to get the third gear. So in that what happens is power is transmitted from gear A to gear B and gear D to gear C. So here A will be the driver and C will be the driven, having the compound gears B and D. So in C by NA equal to driven speed by driver speed equal to TA into TD by TB into TC, that is equal to 1 by 1.5. TD by 2 TC equal to 1 by 1.5. TC equal to 0.75D. So TA plus TB equal to TC plus TD equal to 42. That is from the equation 5 and 6. TC equal to 18 and TD equal to 24. So thus from the first gear, TA equal to TH equal to 14, TB equal to TG equal to 28. From the second gear, TA equal to 14, TF equal to 19, TB equal to 28, but when TF is TE equal to 23. Third gear, TA is 14, TD is 24, TB is 28, and TC is 28. So in this way, we can find the number of each gear. So here the main condition is driver and driven shafts are collinear, means the center distance between the each pair is same. And we need to know the train value for each pair. So train value is nothing but driven shaft driven speed by driver speed. So this is what the problem on motor car gearbox. So until now we have seen ordinary gear trains. In ordinary gear trains we have simple, compound and reverted gear trains. So in ordinary gear trains what we said is, so each gear revolves around the fixed axis of own fixed axis. Revolves around its own fixed axis. So whereas in epicyclic train, gear train, so the axis of rotation of gears is not fixed. In this, the axis of rotation of gears is not fixed. At least one of the gears axis is in motion related to the frame. So one of the axis of the gears axis is in motion related to the frame. So here the axis of gear B will rotate around this gear A, which is having the fixed axis. So the axis of the gear B is not fixed. The axis will also rotate around this frame. So to get this, what happens is gear B carried on arm revolves about fixed axis of gear A, in addition to the motion of about its own axis. So here it will rotate around this axis as well as it moves around the this fixed axis gear. So it has two motions. One is its own motion as well as it moves around this fixed axis gear. Revolves around the fixed axis gear A. So in this, the main advantages of epicyclic gear train is high speed reductions are possible and compact and occupies less space. Epicyclic gear trains are used in differential gears of automobile, wristwatches, pulley blocks, hoists. So in all these we use epicyclic gear train. So the main advantages of epicyclic gear train are high speed reduction can be easily achieved. It occupies less space and compact, and it is mainly used in differential gear of automobile, wristwatches, pulley blocks, hoists, and all this. So applications: differential gear of automobile, wristwatches, pulley blocks, and hoists, all etc. will be used in the epic or used epicyclic gear train. So differential gears, it is a practical application of epicyclic gear train. So differential gears used in automobile is one of the application of epicyclic gear train. When running along a straight track, both the back wheels of a car will rotate at the same speed. So when it is running at the straight, both having the same speed, rear wheels having the same speed. But whenever the car is taking a turn, outer wheel must and should move more speeder than inner wheel, because inner having a less diameter whereas outer having the more diameter, because when it is taking the turn, inner having the less diameter and outer having the more diameter. To get the correct turn of a car, what we need to have is inner wheel rotate with low distance, whereas the outer wheel moves at higher speeds. So this avoids hitting of car and is achieved by differential gear. So this differential will be in the back of gear back axle. So this makes inner wheel rotates lesser distance than outer wheel to get the correct return. So this is what about the differential gears. So this is the best example for the epicyclic gears. So next we'll see proportions of spur gear. So the proportions of spur gear for the design of spur gear wheel. So generally gear will be sized by pitch circle diameter. But for the total spur gear wheel design, the thickness of rim is given by equation TR equal to m into under root of T by 2 into n. So TR equal to m into under root of T by 2n will be the thickness of the ring. So where m is the module, D is number of teeth on the gear, and n is number of arms. So thickness of a rim is usually made equal to 0.5 pc to 0.65 pc. The minimum face width be equal to 3 pc. So here we can see the rim. So rim will be the above portion of So which connects the, so this portion is the rim. This hatched portion is the rim. So above it has tubes, and before below it has arm. So arm or web will be below the rim. So this thickness is equal to m into under root of t by 2 into n. M is module and t is number of teeth and n is number of arms. So here this rim and hub will be connected by number of arms or web. So this rim is connected to hub by means of number of arms or web. So here arm will be in the shape of elliptical shape. So it has an elliptical shape. So which is having a width of A and thickness of B. And it is this the gear having inner diameter D and outer diameter as D1. So this is the width of the rim B. So this is the cross sectional view of gear. So this is length of the hub L. So here number of arms is decided by the rim is connected to hub by means of web. In case of smaller gear of up to 250 pitch circle diameter. So if the pitch circle diameter is below the 250 then the rim is connected to hub by means of web. It is a complete material which is a web. If the rim of larger gear is connected to hub by means of number of arms or spokes. If the diameter of the gear is more, then we no need to connect have web because there is a wastage of material. To avoid that, what we use is we just use the number of arms or spokes to connect a rim with hub. Generally, arms are made of elliptical or elliptical shape, which is having a major axis. So that is equal to the twice the minor axis. So major axis A and minor axis B. Major axis B equal to 2, major axis A equal to 2 into B will be the shape. So generally, where the rim is having a more diameter that is more than 250 then we use arms or spokes. Otherwise, we just use a web to connect rim with hub. So arms are very larger gears subjected to heavy loads are made of other sections such as head sections. The number of arms depends on the pitch circle diameter. So if the arms for very larger sections, larger gear diameters, subjected to heavy loads are made of other sections like H. So here number of arms are depends on the pitch circle diameter, that is D. So gears up to 500 PCD carry 4 arms. So gears up to 500 above 250 mm and below the 500 mm, then this circle diameter is more than 250 and below 500 mm, the number of arms used is 4. For other sizes of number of arms, the required given below. So PCD range from 500 to 1500 mm. Then number of arms used is 6. So it is from 1500 to 2000, that is 8. Above 2000 it is 10. Based on the pitch circle diameter, we use number of arms to connect rim with hub. So here design of hub, the length of the hub L equal to 1.2 to 2.25D. So but it should not be less than the width of the pulley. So length of the hub is 1.5 to 2.25D, or it should not be less than the width of the pulley. So nothing but it should not be less than B, and it is equal to 1.5 to 2.25D. The outer diameter of gear shaft, which is equal to the bore of hub. So outer diameter of gear shaft, which is equal to the bore of hub. Internal diameter of the hub equal to shaft diameter D. The diameter of hub in terms of shaft diameter are indicated in table 0.1. So the diameter of hub and length of the hub. So types of service: light load without shock. For the cast iron, diameter of hub is 1.625D plus 5 mm. For the cast steels, it is 1.5D plus 5 mm, and length of the hub is 1.75D to 2.25D. Medium load and medium shock, it is 1.75D plus 6 mm. For the cast iron and cast steel, it is 1.625D plus 6 mm, and length of the hub is 1.75D to 2.25D. Heavy load and heavy shock, cast iron is 2D and cast steel is 1.75D plus 3 mm, and length of the hub is 1.75D plus 2.25. So now design of arm cross section. As we said, the arm is in the shape of elliptical. So consider arm section is elliptical with the major axis A is twice the minor axis. For the elliptical shape, we have two axes. One is the major axis and minor axis. In this, the condition is A is equal to 2 into B. The length of the major axis is equal to twice the minor axis. So from this section modulus Z equal to pi into A square by 32 into B is section modulus for the elliptical shape. So pi into A square by 32 into B. So here A is equal to twice the B, then B equal to A by 2. So when you substitute the B value in the above equation, Z equal to pi into A cube by 64 will be the Z. So section modulus for the elliptical section where the major axis is equal to twice the minor axis, z equal to pi into a cube by 64. So here we are considering arm as like a cantilever beam because it is fixed to hub and free at the one of the end is fixed to the hub and other end is free. So here the load is acting at the free end only because there is a tangential force acts only at the free end because the gear to gear contact will be at the end of the tooth. So will be at the tooth only. So the more power is applied at tooth only. So that's why it considered as cantilever beam which is fixed at one end and free at other end. So then there is a bending action on each arm M equal to Fs into R by N. So here Fs equal to stalling load. So that is equal to tangential load by velocity factor. So here Fs bending moment on each arm M equal to Fs into R by N. Fs is the stalling load, that is tangential load by velocity factor, and R is the radius of the PCD, N is number of arms. So here bending action on each arm M equal to Fs into R by N. So here Fs is the stalling load, that is equal to tangential load by velocity factor, and R is radius of PCD and N is the number of arms. So let sigma be the bending stress induced. So equating applied bending moment to resisting moment. So here bending moment applied is Fs into R by N, whereas the resisting load is sigma B into Z. So M by A equal to sigma by Y. M by I equal to sigma by Y is the bending equation. From that M equal to sigma into I by Y. I by Y is called as section modulus. So already we find out section modulus for the elliptical section as pi a cube by 64. So then M equal to sigma B into pi a cube by 64 is the resisting load acts when there is a applied bending moment of Fs into R by N. So when you equate both the applied bending moment and resisting bending moment, we'll get the A value. That is the major axis value we can find. From that we can find the minor axis also. So from the known values of bending moment and sigma B, the major axis and minor axis also may be computed. So in this way you can find the major axis and minor axis of the hub of the elliptical arm. So in this the wheel is having a so this is the design of wheel. In wheel we need to design the rim design we need to do. So that is thickness of the rim. Thickness of the rim is equal to m into under root of p by 2 into n. M is the module of n mm and it is number of teeth and n is the number of arms. So here thickness of the rim is usually between 0.5 pc to 0.65 pc and width of the face is 3 pc. So first we need to find the rim. thickness and width of the face. Next one is we need to find the number of arms. So here to connect the rim with hub, we may use web or number of arms. If the pitch circle diameter is below the 250 mm, we use the web. It is completely having the material. So if otherwise we use arms which is in the shape of elliptical. So in elliptical shape we have major axis and minor axis A and B. And here number of arms will be depend on pitch circle diameter. If the pitch circle diameter above 250 and below 500 mm, it is number of arms is 4. So for range of 500 to 1500, number of arms 6, 1500 to 2000 it is 8, above 2000 it is 10. So hub design is length is 1.5 to 2.5D and should not be less than width of the pulley. And outer diameter of the gear is equal to inner diameter of the hub. And outer diameter of the hub is in terms of shafts are given in the problem in this table. And now we are designing the arm cross section. If it is in the elliptical shape, A is equal to twice the B. For the elliptical shape, z equal to pi a square by 32 into b, where a is equal to 2b, b equal to a by 2. By substituting this in the above equation, z equal to pi a cube by 64 will be the section modulus. So the arm is considered as a cantilever beam. One end is fixed at hub and other end is free. So the bending moment on each arm M equal to Fs into R by N. Fs is the stalling load. Stalling load is nothing but tangential load by velocity factor. R is the radius of PCD. The circle diameter. N is number of arms. So let sigma be the bending stress induced by equating the applied bending moment and to resisting bending moment. M equal to applied is Fs into R by N equal to sigma B into pi A Q by 64. So by knowing the M and sigma B value, we will find the major axis and minor axis of the arm. So this way we can design the spur gear wheel. So we'll see the problems on the spur gear design in next class.